Welcome to AI for Growth, Lessons from Leaders. I'm your host, Megan Driscoll. AI for Growth is a podcast that demystifies AI for business owners. Each episode features conversations with leaders who share their experiences, covering the good, the bad, and the ugly of AI implementation. We aim to help businesses understand how and where AI can effectively scale your operations, focusing on practical insights rather than just hype. Welcome. Welcome to AI for Growth, Lessons from Leaders. Today I have with me Jason Kraus. Really happy to have you on the show, Jason. Thanks for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your business?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Jason Kraus. I'm the founder and CEO of Prepare for VC. My background's in the venture capital space and as an entrepreneur as well, starting several financial technology companies. Started Prepare for VC to really bridge the gap between what investors were looking for and what I had seen on the investment world for what they were looking for when they were meeting founders and how founders approached and even got in the room with the right investors in the first place. Yeah. So we started on the consulting and coaching side, expanded into cohort programs, accelerator, incubator style cohorts that we've run since 2020. And then our most recent addition is a platform called Compass that has AI-generated insights and road mapping tools for early-stage founders to figure out of the 500 things that are on your plate, which one to focus on next.
I love that. So we're going to talk about Compass because that's related to our show. But before we do that, I just want to say, like, I think I think the gap is there. I think you identified a real gap in the space between wanting to sell your company and even knowing how to do it. You know, I remember when I was looking to sell my company, so I sold my firm to a private equity firm in 2017, and I went to a banker, a broker,
Yep.
and I got the name from a couple VC companies that were larger than they were interested in me. There's people that I knew who worked there, and I asked, like, who should I go to, and they kind of like gave me a couple ideas, and then I interviewed a few of them and I chose one. One of the things that was so amazing about working with a banker, and I'm interested in your thoughts on that, like middle person too, was they put together, it's almost like a real estate sheet, you know, like this is all the beautiful things about your home. It's exactly the same way about your business. But I remember reading it and being like, wow, my company's awesome. Like the way in which they like shine me up like a shiny penny, you know, like it just, they just looked at my business in a way that I hadn't really looked at it. They presented it in a way that I had never presented it before. I had presented my business for clients, potential clients, never for potential investors. And those are two totally different things. So what's your thought on using a banker and like that process of, could I have done that myself? Could I have skipped the banker broker?
Yeah, I think it's always helpful to have that outside perspective. There's different approaches if it's, you know, even just mentors, advisors, investment bankers, consultant. Like, there's a lot of different avenues you can go down, but I think the inside perspective is, you know, all the things that haven't been done yet and they're in front of you, and it's easy to focus on those when somebody else coming in looks at all the pieces you've actually accomplished and how this compares to other startups or companies in your sector. And even, you know, on a simple example, one of the companies we had worked with just pitched at a conference in front of a bunch of investors, and I talked to the founder afterwards, and she was saying, like, oh, I forgot this and this, and then, you know, she went over and talked to the investors, and 3 out of 4 of them booked a meeting with her. So it's not always like what you miss. It's, you know, nobody knows what else was in your plan to, like, say afterwards. It's, you know, what are the highlights that people are going to remember from talking with you.
That's really cool. I remember going at it alone and feeling very, and I will also say too that I think that I'm going to get like a little bit on my soapbox about this, but, you know, for female leaders, I think in particular, there are less of us, right, out there, you know, that have businesses that are big enough to sell. Like, by and large, there are very few women who get private equity funding. I mean, it's just like a fact. And so we don't, and I think mostly it's because we don't have the same kind of like network that men do. And so and that's kind of, that network is kind of like how you get information about who you should work with, and what does the VC process look like, and is my company big enough, and what does EBITDA mean, and what is the size of the company that needs to how much profit do I need to be able to sell, all of those things. I think it is harder for female founders, and so this resource that you're talking about with your company, I think would be really, I mean, again, talking just about a niche for you. You want to do some lead
Yeah.
gen, I'll help you with some lead gen to get in front of some female founders, because they're the ones that need your support the most, I think. But not saying it's not helpful for anybody. But okay, so let's talk about Compass, because you had a business, you wrote a book, I think, as well about this topic. So you knew your space, you knew what you were doing. What was the impetus for developing this kind of like AI generated online tool?
Yeah, it's always been expanding or the prepare for VC pathway has been expanding the amount of people and the ability to support them in the right ways. So, it started actually like our COO jokes that the first few years were Jason as a service. It was just me going out individually, working directly with founders on their everything from pitch decks and presentations to getting their financials ready, and going in and setting up meetings with investors, and really just it was kind of my way of consulting and working directly with these entrepreneurs. And then as our team grew, that's where kind of the second phase for us was, how do we keep working with the individual companies we were working with, and now have additional support from other team members, but also how do we do more group programming. And so that's where our breakthrough program came in. Was we said, we can design a curriculum where we can work with up to 10 companies at a time, still keep it relatively small and get that personal connection, but have a space where they're learning from us, they're learning from other mentors in our network, and also from each other, like other founders going through the same thing at the same time.
Yeah,
And so
which is
that
also
first,
really helpful. It is really, really helpful to people who uh, are going through it, right? I say, like, selling your
yeah,
business. It is like having a colonoscopy for your business. Like, it is like the same thing. Like, you are put through the ringer. I felt the sale process, and that's after the process of you identify the person. You identify the organization, that the VC firm that you've chosen that's going to move forward with you, and then they put you through due diligence, and you're like, So it is helpful to
right.
have. I had to do a personality testing on myself and several of my partners. It was crazy. I was like, wow, okay, what's going to happen if you don't
Oh,
like me?
interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So they,
Yeah, no, I think that's becoming even more common, especially even on the earlier side too, is most investors, or I'd say especially now, know if there's not a competitor in your space, there's going to be at some point soon. And so it's really investing in the founders and the teams and as the people that are going to make it happen. So yeah, the personality assessments and just showing that you're a strong leader, you're a coachable founder, know how to take in feedback and adapt to the market. Those are all like crucial things that investors are looking for, and that's partly, outside of the presentation and how the business topics we focus on. We also like work in those more soft or power skills into our programming as well, and
yeah,
because
I
that
think
is an
that's,
essential piece of it
yeah.
too.
I'm interested in your, like, if you can give me, again, this is not really talking about Compass, but I want to get to Compass. We were going to get
Sure.
there. Because I like ultimately this podcast is for small businesses who are growing and who are looking for ways in which they can utilize AI. And so having an idea about something where you want to expand, like adding an AI platform, which is really what you did, I think is
Yeah.
something that would really help other businesses. So I do want to talk about Compass, but I do think that small businesses who are growing and doing well really could benefit from, maybe like a top three things that investors are looking for. And so I think I'll give you mine, and then you tell me whether or not you think that's right.
Sure.
So I think leadership. I think the who's at the head and what is the head's plan, right? Like, is the head looking to just get out of the business and leave? Or is the head of the company someone that's going to really keep driving value, right? If they've been driving value. And then what kind of a team is assembled beneath, and how well do they get along with one another, and how well do they work together? Not get along with each other, but work together, as a team, and the longevity of their experience, right? Has everybody been there for 6 months, or are these people that have been there for several years, like grinding and making things happen? Number two, I think, is stickiness. So, like, how sticky are those clients? And so, the recurring revenue piece, or even if it's not necessarily recurring revenue, but you can show you have repeat customers, things like that. So, you can kind of like get a little bit of a runway with regard to revenue and how that's going to look and feel good about the stickiness of it. And then number three is EBITDA. Just are you profitable enough that we can kind of like take the debt risk on it? So those are my top three. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah, the team, and especially, I mean, it's always interesting as you're building out the team too, because you want different perspectives and people to have, strengths that are or strengths in different areas that together as a team you fill all the gaps, but you also want a little bit of overlap where, if you're in a sales conversation and there's another opportunity that comes up, there's somebody else you feel comfortable and confident that can take that for you. And so like some
Depth.
overlap, but yeah, different strengths from the team kind of coming together and making the perfect group, to lead the business.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely on the last piece, I think, you know, the investors have to be excited about the business, the people behind it, but they also have to be excited about the deal itself, and that they're coming in at the right spot. It's the right risk reward level for them, and they see the growth potential in the future.
Yeah. Cool. Great. I am now forging into the world. So my non-compete has ended. So now I'm entering board seat world. So I'll be I'm on one board already, but I'm just taking another board seat too, which is like really exciting for me because I get to
Oh,
actually
amazing.
help companies that were at my stage or earlier, and kind of see them through this sort of growth prospect. Because my company went from about like 30 million in revenue to 150 million revenue after I was purchased by the private equity firm. So we kind of exploded in growth really right after I sold, which was kind of amazing and so
Right.
fun. So now I get to kind of like help companies do that next launch too, which is super exciting.
Oh, that's
Okay.
amazing.
Let's talk about Compass. So you wanted to expand your services and offer something on an AI platform. How did you go about doing it? What did you actually? We had to have an idea about what you wanted to achieve, obviously. So you had to have a work plan, a workflow.
Yeah, so our um, first step was actually, it was something we call chart my course, and this was basically even prospects we were talking to that were founders, as well as we built more in depth for companies that we're actually like working with and engaged with. We started just by using chat GPT, like, or a custom GPT we built, analyzing like information on the ventures, and then creating a presentation version that we would send and say, this is our basically due diligence analysis and a roadmap for what you should focus on over the next 30, 60, 90 days. And we sent it to the founders, and that was our like kind of basically manual version one using some chat GPT tools. And then we actually created the system on, we use Lovable as an AI coding platform, plugged into
I like
Superbase
Lovable.
yeah, it's great. No, as a database, and we store everything on GitHub, so we could actually use, you know, um, and get advice from some development firms that we work with. Yeah, we partnered up with a firm called TLM, and they actually helped like kind of expand from that second version to a third version we're on now. But really, it was just
So you
kind
just
of
went
our
to Lovable and you did just like the
yeah, we went to
nuts and bolts.
Lovable. We said, this is, or we had put together some like Google Doc documentation we had been working on as a team on, really what we actually wanted to build and create. And so our first piece of the platform was really an assessment tool that takes a combination of your business metrics and your personality and what your goals as a founder. Are you looking to sell? Are you looking to stay with us for the next 20 years? Are you looking to and do you want this to be more venture scale, angel scale, or like bootstrapped business? And really analyze, does the way you're building it match up with your goals for the company, and what else do you need to get in place
So it's
in
kind
order
of like
to
a
make this
choose your
happen?
own adventure a little bit. Like I go
It is,
in
yeah.
as the founder and say, this is it's going to start asking me questions and I'm going to sort of respond in real time with regard to like how I think I want to build my company or how I've built it already. And it's going to guide me through, is it just going to give me information back, or is it going to give me like you're
It's
not
going
on
to give you
track? Will it tell me I'm
scoring
doing
on.
something wrong?
Sure. Yeah, it'll give you scoring on a few different categories. The overall progress compared to similar companies. Also self efficacy and situational awareness. So that's, do you understand like where you are in the journey, like who you need to turn to, and what's coming up? Like, are there a lot of unknowns ahead, or do there might still be things that are on that you need to figure out, but this is going to happen after this happens, and like how much of that do you actually have in place?
So you
So
basically, and did you use some of this, right? Because when you're coding this, you have to give it direction as to like if they say
sure.
this, right? Like it's kind of like again, choose your own adventure. So did you use information? Like, did you actually go through all the different scenarios of where this could go? Like when you mapped this whole thing out before you got to Lovable, like you had kind of like the tree branches of
Yeah, so we had where it can go, and then also we have um, an open combination of Gemini and OpenAI
how.
plugin that reviews everybody's responses and also generates like custom analysis based on what they put in as well.
Okay, cool. So you're actually in real time pulling from AI as well. So it's like you've
Right.
generated this and then it's in real time assessing, and not just from your perspective, but it's assessing it on like
Yeah, it's comparing it
the
to
world's
other.
the world is
Exactly.
also contributing to the answer of where they go and choose your own adventure.
Right.
Cool.
And yeah, the piece we had support, a lot of that we built on our own with vibe coding, and then our partner TLM came in and helped us build out really another piece we call Astra, which is after you're in the system, any email, or the first channel is email. It'll end up on like WhatsApp and other channels too, but any kind of follow-up conversations you have with this email agent get logged into your profile and help build out your next steps and like what you've already accomplished, and adjust the game plan and roadmap for the founders.
So you can, once you start, it's not just it's an iterative process. You can continue to go back in
Exactly.
and update, and basically you now have like a profile and you're kind of building like a little bit of a plan. It sounds like
Right.
that you can then change, go back in and
Yeah,
say,
it's a
well, this
plan
just
that
happened.
gets adjusted based on what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, cool. And it's all AI generated for the most part.
Um, it is some things where kind of, I'd say, like human in the, we review the generation and um, make sure it's right, and then send it off. But we're working towards, or once we're confident enough that it can do it on its own, then we just have it do it on its own.
Yeah, that's great. And are you charging for that?
Um, Not for the entry to the platform. We're building in more of a like credit model where you can get a certain number of interactions for free, and then upgrade for more
Cool.
usage
Are
from
you
there.
going to use it on the back end so that people who are entering their information can then be picked up by private equity firms? Like, would they be able to get access to the system to see some of these businesses?
It's something we're exploring, like what information, and we're going to work with the founders in the system too on you know what pieces, because we don't want to make everything all of their profiles available, but
Sure.
what pieces can we share as a signal of it's going to be a good match in both directions between the founder and the investor groups.
Yeah, that's really cool. Um, and then can you talk a little bit about, so you have, so because I think like people have a lot of like really great ideas about how to utilize how they want, how they think they want to expand their business using AI, right? And this is the perfect use case model. Like this is perfect. You had an
Yeah.
idea, it's something that can be generated. You're taking a lot of your time off of your plate where somebody has to individually work with everybody. This is something that they can do on their own. So I could see a lot of value for you if this takes off as well. What did this cost you though? So I know the first piece you were kind of doing yourself with Lovable, and then you kind of got to a place where it was like, I could use some help. At the end of the day, what do you think when this is like kind of like checked box done? What, give me the time frame it took you to do this, and give me the cost you think associated with it.
Yeah. Um, Definitely a lot cheaper than it would have cost, a few years ago. Like,
For sure.
we started with, I mean, $100 a month lovable plan, then we moved up, but actually got some credits there too. But yeah, I mean, we're on the, even on the like up to like $500 a month plan, you can really, that's as much credits as we actually
Would
need
ever need.
to, do everything. Um, and yeah, the other thing, super base is like $20 a month. And, so really, a lot of it you can do at, what probably used to cost,
Thousands.
$10,000 for an MVP,
Yep.
up to 50,000. You can make that good of a version for, I don't know, maybe several $1,000s instead
Yeah.
of,
Cool.
yeah.
So you think if someone were to, and I agree with you actually, and this is what I think blows people's minds. Like create, you could actually create a program to save time, right? So let's say you're doing something repetitively all the time, and it's something your clients you do with them every single. It's part of your process, right? It's what you do. You could build that for like $1,000 yourself, and you never have to do it again. Like all that
Yeah.
time is completely saved, like as one, and then you could expand and offer, like in your case, an entirely separate service, right? And if you do the math out on that, and you think it can what, like, because that's ultimately what it is, what's going to be the ROI on this, am I going to be able to cover my costs? And if you can do that for like under $5,000, but in the first year you've got like $20,000 worth of sales associated with that, it's a kind of a no-brainer. I mean, you never 2 years ago, I don't think you could build anything for $5,000, and I think today you can build a pretty robust program without a lot of knowledge. Tell me a little bit about, how did you
Yeah.
feel? I think people get scared with Lovable and with like just any sort of like coding. How did you feel about, like, did you have people that were like really into it and good with it, or did you feel like you were a novice and were able to do it yourselves anyway?
Um, we used like chat GPT and some of Claude as well to basically like ask, whenever we got stuck on something, what the best prompt to put into Lovable
Hmm.
to fix things were. And I'd say there were more bugs early on, but then it got good at fixing those.
Yeah.
And so, you know it's helpful to have people review or have the code and have, well, the biggest thing too is like also just having that test community you can go to and say, hey, we're just launching this product. I
Yeah.
did that in the startup grind community that I'm a part of, and just sent it out, and people gave feedback and said what's working, what's not working, and then we went and fixed the things that weren't working.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's really important too, to be able to have like a safe space, right? To
Yeah.
try it out and let people kind of go through it and see if there's any value to it. I think that's all. And most business owners have a safe space where they can go, a small group of clients who are willing to do something to kind of give you some feedback, which I think is great. But I think that's the piece that's really great about this, and what I emphasize with business owners when they want to do something like this is just try it. Start with, like, Lovable is a great place to start, and then, like you said, that iterative process of asking ChatGPT, how would you build this? What do I need
Yeah.
to do specifically in Lovable, Like, give me the step-by-step instructions for how I can build this tool. And then you go to Lovable and you put it in there and you get an output, and then you take the output and you put it back into ChatGPT and say, okay, we've missed a couple things here. You know, what's next? And I think that iterative process, I think people are it's daunting when people aren't familiar with it, but I think they have to just get over that and just start working with some of these platforms and see how it goes. Because I do think
Yeah,
it's much more intuitive than you would think. It sounds like it's like techie, but it's really not that techie.
it is. And I think the thing that outside expertise has helped the most on is basically if you just keep prompting in Lovable, it's going to create a ton of features, and then it's, going in and really narrowing that back to, do we need to have all these features, and what should the actual flow be, how do we make it simpler and easier for people to get through a system. And so
Yeah, you're
that's
actually
where,
cutting back on features.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's helpful to have other people like help kind of cut back and say, well, it should start here and end up here, and make it simple. But it's easy to go in and get started like building everything today.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's cool. And I think too, one of the things I think is, we emphasize in the show for our founders, or really anybody, is just taking a step back and saying, what are you really trying to accomplish? What's the workflow, right? And because we try to solve lots of problems, and sometimes solving a problem creates a new problem. If you haven't really
Right.
mapped out like how something is supposed to go, or you want it to go, oftentimes you can get caught. So I think that piece that you're talking about with regard to really laying it out. So do me a favor. So how can people find you? Like where are you sitting in the world where someone can go and find your company and get in touch with you if they need to?
Sure. Yeah, so for our company, it's prepare for with the number 4 VC for venturecapital.com. So prepare for VC.
Prepareforvc.com.
Yep. Our we list our compass on there, and it's also just compass.prepareforvc.com. And then personally, I have a site, jasonkraus.me, or I'm happy to connect with people on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. And the Compass program, you said it's free right now. So if founders wanted to go in and actually just get a little bit of an
Yeah,
assessment.
it's free to take your first assessment, get your results, and emails it to you afterwards as well, and then we come in and see how else we can support you on your journey ahead as well.
That's amazing. I have one last question for you before we go, because I was just thinking about this. I have been saying this, and I now know it to be true. But I have been saying I'm really concerned about small businesses and their ability to survive the next couple years as AI has taken over. And I couldn't articulate what exactly I was worried about. I knew that I've been anxious about it, right?
Sure.
Because I'm a small business proponent. I'm go small business, I shop local and all that stuff. Super concerned. And then I had a conversation with sort of a leading expert. She's actually going to be on my show. She was doing large language models in the 90s. She's before her time. And she now exclusively works with companies like Nike and Adidas and all these Pepsi, all these big companies, to basically retool how they're doing their business from the inside out, because they aren't companies that can just fold, right? And she said something to me yesterday when we were talking about a preparation call for our podcast, that she thinks between 75 and 90% of small businesses are going to fail in the next 3 years. And her reason for this thought is that they have been built on a non-AI model. They've been built like a business that's been around forever. And they can't, unless they fully dismantle the way of their thinking of how a business should grow, unless they completely forget it all and start rebuilding right now their company using AI, that there's no way they'll survive. Because she was saying I have 50, I started a company last week, and I today have 50 people working for me, AI generated employees. You can't compete with me. There's no chance. I will always be ahead of you. And that what was going to happen is going to be a bloodbath for small companies. And then in the interim, these companies will start with AI in mind, that they'll begin their business with AI, and those are the ones that will really survive, and we'll see a huge resurgence and an amazing companies coming out of the woodwork in the next 5 or 6 or 7 years. What do you think about that assessment?
It's interesting. I mean, I was seeing more effect or more I don't know, disruption, whatever you want to call it, in the size of the businesses rather than um, the business is completely failing. Like I would say,
Like
if you can
downsizing.
run, yeah, downsizing or even I mean, my take is I think there's going to be a lot more companies overall, and even probably more small medium businesses that can operate with 10 to 50 employees instead of that used to be 100 to 500 employees, and now they can get as they still need, or at this stage they still need like somebody in each of the departments running it and managing all the marketing AI, managing all the financial tools and technologies, but you don't necessarily need um, 20 people in each department.
Yeah.
So,
So you just
you
see
know,
general downsizing, not complete obliteration.
yeah, and I think the
Yeah, like she
if
went
you are
nuclear. She's going nuclear.
well, if you are I mean, the thing that's always been an advantage for small businesses and startups is it's easier, or there's less hurdles you have to run through if you want to implement new technology or make a pivot and change. So if you have two co-founders, or you have a few team members that are running everything and making the decisions, it's a lot easier than taking something to a board and taking
Yeah.
it to multiple places for approval. And so if you can move quickly, lean into that and um, be a tech forward small business.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying very hard to get companies to really embrace AI, particularly as it relates to generating sales. AI sales agents, AI marketing, implementing lead gen, that kind of thing, like, because it's super, super important for small companies to get ahead of the game. Everyone else is doing it. They need to be doing it themselves, and it's not
Right.
that expensive and it's not that hard.
Yeah, that's where I feel like that's been more of a kind of a personality challenge, or in terms of like it's hard. I feel, or even personally, to get over the hurdle of, hey, this tool is gonna like go out and pretend to be me and reach out to other people, and so like what if it says something I don't agree with? And I mean, I think just figuring out what works and doesn't work for you, and knowing, hey, there's a lot of tools and technologies out there, and you can now it's at a point where, I mean, every day they're better than they were before, and
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of them are great at just finding the right starting the right conversations, bringing the right people in, and you know they can still, if you want to do a face to face meeting, you can have them like set up Zooms for you and have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean that's what I do basically. So what I do is I call it like a company in a box kind of, because I do a combination of like lead. So I the avatar, who's your customer, right? We
Yeah.
identify that, and then we find 5,000 of them basically. And I have like 70 or 80% open rates on my emails because I do a ton of AI scrubbing on the back end. And essentially what we do is we create sort of a campaign that goes out, and it's speaking as if they work for you, and it's speaking like a real person, and we write it really humanly, and it comes across in their inbox and people open it and respond. And then we actually use AI to directly go and then schedule Zoom meetings with clients. And then everything gets put into a CRM. And so after 90 days, you walk away with a fully automated CRM with 5,000 people in it that's basically communicating with those people on an ongoing basis in whatever fashion, a newsletter, once a week, twice a week, however you want to communicate with them. And it's forever, basically kind of working on the back end. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what I do. So many companies that I communicate with, small businesses, don't have really strong or even any CRM, and so it really baffles me because it is such an easy tool that has just been made so much better with AI that yeah, it's just like such a great, amazing tool for your business. So that's what I do.
Right. No,
So
that's amazing.
yeah. Well, it was great talking to you. Thanks for the really interesting conversation. I think founders are going to find this really helpful too. And I will send people to your Compass program because I think that Compass tool, I think it sounds really cool.
Appreciate it. Yeah, excited to share with your audience and looking forward to meeting the founders.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thank you.